Today, we are so excited to have Women Across Careers, the Women in Male-Dominated Fields Career Speaker Series today. And we have Coach Nicole Therese Paoli with us, who, is a coach of a male hockey team, which we are very excited to hear from. So it's all you.
Thank you, everybody. Hi, yes, I'm Therese Paoli. I am so honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I shouldn't everyone else. I coach her little brother, Bulin, and I have watched many players grow throughout the years from the time they're 2 years old all the way through high school. So this is really special to be here today. Thank you, thank you. I titled my presentation Breaking Barriers for a few reasons. You know, when you think of breaking barriers, you think about overcoming obstacles and breaking the glass ceiling. Women in dominated fields is a really big deal. I've been at Glacier Ice Arena for over 16 years now, and I've been the only female coach on staff for all 16 years. I have coached, worn a lot of different hats at the rink. I still play. On the far right here is when I played with a women's team in the first ever Chicago Blackhawks Breaking Barriers tournament, and we won first place, so I thought it was only fitting to title this presentation. So, growing up, I was always a kiddo that loved sports, I loved school, loved to read. I just was really passionate and enthusiastic about many things, but certainly growing up, I was pretty small, and my parents were very nervous and hesitant to have me play ice hockey. Growing up, there weren't many rinks that were close by. The Glacier wasn't even built yet. So my dad said, okay, if you really want to play, let's look into a rink. The closest rink was 40 minutes away in Rolling Meadows. So I started playing right away. I didn't even start a learn to skate program. I just, hopped on the ice, and they put me on a team with all boys, and I played as the only girl on these all-boys teams from first grade all the way through the end of 8th grade, which was a big deal because as you're going through middle school, things get more physical, but it was impossible to find girls' teams, girls-only leagues, girls-only teams nearby. So, it was just such a great experience. I never felt like I was out of place. The boys always treated me like I was a sister. Parents were always supportive. It was just such a great experience. My idol growing up is Cami Granado. She is on the right here. She was the first captain of the Women's Olympic National Team. That was in 1998 when USA Women's Hockey and World Hockey was first introduced into the Olympics, the Winter Olympics. So of course, watching her and all these strong, powerful women in the first ever when it was first introduced in 1998 was such a big deal. I was in 4th grade then, and she actually was from Illinois, so she had a couple fun week-long summer camps that she would host just for girls all across the country. Would fly in to do her summer camp, so that was a big deal to meet her, to be on the ice with her, and she really inspired me to continue playing, to continue coaching, so it was just great to meet my idol and just kind of pave that way for girls hockey. So, I continued through 8th grade, all the way through end of 8th grade. I played with the boys, and then, I'm at that crossroads of high school, and I'm starting to participate in the Stevenson High School clinics, camps with the boys, evaluation skates. I lived in Stevenson School District, and the coach and my dad were still very nervous and hesitant because of my size. And as you go through 7th and 8th grade, that's when you start checking. That's when it gets real physical. You're allowed to hit against the boards. And they said, you got speed, kid, but you're small. We're still worried about what could happen on the ice. So I had a couple camps and clinics at Lake Forest Academy, and just fell in love with the school and the campus and discovered they have a girls team. So I applied, I got in. It was very competitive then, it still is now, but at the time my graduating class was 42 students, so I really love being able to go from public school to prep school. It was just wonderful being able to have such a small environment and get to play different sports. I tried field hockey, and it was great playing girls ice hockey and softball. So just had a great 4 years there, and I knew from about the time I was a young teenager that I told you I love school, so I knew I wanted to be a teacher. And during that time, my ice hockey coach also worked at Glacier Ice Arena. And I was like, oh, this is a new rink and it's right down the road. And she said, I know you want to be a teacher and you love working with kids. Come help me volunteer in the summer. It would be a great experience for you because coaching is just like teaching. So I started when I was 16, and I don't count those years in my experience with Glacier, but I was just a volunteer helping around the ice, and I fell in love with being able to be on the ice and teach at the same time. So of course I knew for undergrad I wanted to study elementary and secondary education. I took extra practicums and courses to have that K-12 certification. And right out of college, I was very lucky in 2009 to have a 4th grade teaching job. Best first year I could have asked for as a first year teacher. And during that time I really knew I had a knack for using technology to leverage learning. And you know, a lot of the veteran teachers would be coming to me, asking me for advice on what websites I would recommend or what devices I should use to make learning more meaningful. So I said, hey, this is a great way to study a master's, get a master's in educational technology and computer science. So I was doing that while I was working as a 4th grade teacher, then I was 5th and 6th grade, then I worked at Buffalo Grove High School, and then I was finishing my dissertation while working at Buffalo Grove High School. So I really worked in, you know, from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, really using that elementary and secondary K-12 certification. So after I finished my master's in computer science and ed tech, I then became the technology integration specialist / computer teacher in Winnetka for several years. And you know, like I mentioned, I started as 4th grade. On the far left here, I guess my pointer's not working, there we go. 4th grade, and then 5th and 6th grade. And it was real interesting because in a lot of these school settings, they had career day, and they would often ask me to present as Ms. Paoli, but also as Coach Charisse, and they could see me be in 2 different environments and wear 2 different hats. So for career day, I stepped out of the classroom and I brought all my hockey things and my training tools, and you know, it was great to, you know, have the kids react to what it's like having another job outside of the classroom. And you know, it was really special to even have a lot of these boys I taught, some girls I taught, have come and trained at Glacier, have skated with me. So like I mentioned, I've really watched children grow throughout the years, all the way through college and juniors and playing in the AHL now. But like I mentioned earlier, it's all a journey. So I was the computer teacher / technology specialist, where I was traveling between 3 different schools in Winnetka, and then teaching all K through 4 grades. So it was all kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. And not only that, but also working with all the teachers of every grade level, working with all the principals, administrators, training them on new tools, working on curriculum and design, doing a lot of break-fix things like, you know, helping fix the printer, all that good stuff, and really just getting into this role of being a person who's like a jack of all trades, wearing many hats. So that was just sort of how I've always been. You know, one of my philosophies of teaching is really empowering students and myself to be a resourceful person. I think as a teacher, students expect us to know everything or to be experts at everything. And certainly with technology, it's impossible to be an expert at everything. But always trying, I pride myself on being a resourceful person, or knowing, I don't have to know everything, but knowing how to get the right answer is so important. So that was something that was really important, one of my core values when working with not just students but teachers too. Really, when you're working with teachers and technology and administrators, you're doing the same thing. You're teaching just like you're teaching students, and empowering people to be independent and giving them little tips and tricks with technology that will help them feel more independent and comfortable and confident, so that they're not always calling me at 11 o'clock p.m. and asking, how do I fix my PowerPoint, and can you set this up for me tomorrow morning? But I love that role, it was great. but it was starting to feel like I was juggling 2 full-time jobs, not just at school, but at the ice rink. You know, I'm doing a lot of coaching on the ice. I'm also at Stevenson High School coaching field hockey for 8 seasons. That was always a short season, but I just couldn't get away from the coaching. You know, like I mentioned, I loved all sports growing up. I played everything, and you know, I had great parents that supported me. So I'm coaching, but I'm also, my general manager, who's been at the rink for as long as I have, he knows that I've got a background in technology, and you know, he's starting to ask me for little things like, you know, can you take care of the networks, and can you set up all the new cameras, and can you start, you know, the social media has really taken off. It's about 2011, 2012. What do you know about Instagram and Facebook? How do we use that to bring more people in the door? So over time, slowly, I'm starting to wear many hats. I'm working and organizing, overseeing all the camps and clinics that go on, all the special events. While being on the ice, pretty much all the kiddos will start with me. We do have a Learn to Skate program where they start as a tiny tot. So I have been in a lot of Learn to Skate, just very beginning grassroots. And then the next step when they want to play ice hockey is with me. We call it Learn to Play. So typically after 3 or 4, then they're starting officially with wearing all the gear head to toe. They're 4 or 5. And I pretty much see them through right now a squirt level, which is 10 years old, and that's usually about 10 is where I stop with that age, as squirt level. I love that age, and that's what I've been coaching now for travel through the Ice Dogs organization, and I just love it. But like I mentioned, being the sole person on site, handling everything technology related, anything that really plugs into a wall, they call me in to fix, and you know, it's a lot, but I've been doing this for so many years now with technology. A lot of it is second nature. So, you know, I can take care of cameras and laptops and printers and fax machines and, you know, everything that, you know, is at the rink. I know it like the back of my hand. Then another part here is this whole marketing concept. Again, I didn't go to school, and my undergrad and grad degrees were nothing related to business. So I've taken a lot of online courses. I think as a teacher, you're always a lifelong learner, and really have enjoyed just learning this whole different aspect of what it's like to leverage business and, you know, use social media. A lot of communication is done through myself and my coworker, Sandy, and just getting the news and information, communication out to everyone within our community, and trying to build a community where we're bringing in more people. I really work on recruiting coaches from Canada or Europe that will come and skate with our kids, just to, you know, make things exciting and engaging. One of my favorite things I get to do is host special events with some really awesome people, NHL players. That's like the elite top. That's where you want to be. All players strive to be in the NHL. It's you know, the goal of everyone to lift the Stanley Cup and to touch the greatest trophy in sports. And I've been able to visit and take pictures with the actual Stanley Cup that the players use, which is, if you see right here, it's been dented many times from all the celebrations. And then there's also one in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and that's me with my dad. He's very special to me. He passed away in 2020, and that was the year I decided I can't keep juggling teaching and being at Glacier, working 2 full-time jobs. It was so much. So, you know, he was my greatest inspiration, and it was just a natural transition to go from in the classroom to then working at Glacier Ice Arena full-time. You know, it hasn't been easy. You know, certainly there are still some male coaches who, you know, don't always talk to me, you know, don't really give me the time of day. But I always remind myself, I'm not there for, you know, to win the approval of some of these men. I'm here because I love the kids. I love being on the ice. I'm always happy to collaborate, share. I just come in every day with enthusiasm and a positive attitude. And eventually I rub off on some of the older, stricter guys who have been doing this a long time. And, you know, again, that's why I'm there to teach the kids and to make a positive impact. So, If you want to jump on my train, I always say, let's go, we're going to have a great time. But again, there's some guys who just don't want to speak or talk or, just have a relationship, then that's always okay with me too. So working with Jeremy Roenick, who is a really big deal in the NHL community. He has not won a Stanley Cup, but hosting his summer camps really kicked off this whole, we're a really special rink in the area. We have Stanley Cup players who come and skate with us. Patrick Kane with the Chicago Blackhawks is just a legend. He is a big deal to me. He and I are close. We were born in the same year. He wears 88. He was with the Hawks for a long time. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. He was the great American-born player. It's a big deal to be a #1 draft pick in American-born. It's usually a Canadian or someone from Sweden. So for him to be drafted #1 was such a big deal. The kids, they see my picture with Patrick Kane all the time around the rink, and they just can't get over how cool that is that he and I have coached together, been on the ice together, and now he's with the Red Wings. So we're kind of sad that we lost him, but he's still amazing. I know that a lot of players retire in their mid-30s, but he's still just trucking along. He's doing great. Brandon Bollig is another Stanley Cup champ who's coached with me on the ice. He's just legendary as well. A lot of these guys are so wonderful because they know what it's like to start as a kid and to just have dreams of playing at the top level. So they come back to the community, they teach with me, they're doing events where they meet the kids in the lobby and they sign autographs and they're handing out pucks and they're doing fun things on the ice with me. We have a really cool big poster upstairs of Patrick Sharp and Ben Eager. So when Ben came the very first time, I asked him to sign his name on his chest here as well as Patrick Sharp. And Ben is still coaching now in Glenview, so he comes every year to hang out with me and work with me on the ice. This was in the middle there with Ben and I at the Breaking Barriers tournament. He was coaching some other women, so that was a really cool thing to see him in different environments. Chris Chelios was a Red Wing legend. He's done a couple of camps and clinics with us. Just a really great guy. I had his poster on my wall when I was like 3rd or 4th grade, so to then be an adult and to meet him is, it's just surreal to have someone on your wall and then to meet them in person and for them to be such a great person. It's just a great experience. I mentioned Patrick Sharp. He won 3 cups with Kane and Taze. That whole era was such a big deal. To win that many cups in just a short time, it was just a magical time in Chicago, and it's just so surprising how the pendulum can swing because now we see the Blackhawks are in last place, unfortunately. But again, having these guys pave this way for hockey in Illinois is such a big deal because as I've been at Glacier these last 15 years, you've really seen this trend of, these kids want to be just like these stars. They see them as Hollywood stars, and they come to the rink wanting to play, wanting to be great. So they really idolize these guys, and it really, again, boosts business as these players in Chicago, are viewed as elite athletes, and they're winning the Stanley Cup. Danny Carcillo has helped me on the ice. He's won 2 cups. I met Sidney Crosby and JT Comfort. Sid is probably my all-time favorite out of all these guys. He is not a Chicago Blackhawks player, but he does play for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He is the captain. He has also won 3 cups. It's very hard just to win 1 Stanley Cup or 2 Stanley Cups, so to win 3 is just unbelievable. JT is actually another local boy from Northbrook, so he's been on the ice in the summer. I've given him ice to train and skate. Brad Marchand from the Bruins, Brent Sopel. I really love this picture with Brad. That was when the Chicago Blackhawks invited me. They honored me on the ice as Coach of the Year, and they let me stand right by the entrance where the Bruins got on. So he's a silly guy. If you know anything about hockey, he's always a enforcer, an instigator, but he's an overall great guy. I love this picture with Brent Sopel. He won the cup in 2010, and it's me using technology. It's using my technology skills. We're using an iPad app here to analyze these older boys their data and working with Brent and trying to see, you know, what skills do we need to improve on. It's just a kind of a nice full circle moment of using the skills and my education on the ice with these boys to help them improve their game. So I mentioned a lot about passion and enthusiasm, and I just can't stress how important that is. You know, one of my slides I wrote, follow your bliss. I just think it's so important to be enthusiastic about whatever it is you love in life, just follow that feeling. No matter what it is, I say go at it full speed. You gotta embrace it and love it. I told you I knew young that I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to work with children, and it's just so important to, you know, wake up every day following that passion. You know, I mentioned it can be tough sometimes working with all the men. I'm the only female coach, you know. A lot of times they might be having meetings and, you know, they didn't invite you, or, you know, you feel kind of like, you know, there's a little bit of a boys club, quote unquote boys club, and, you know, you're just trying to fit in. But I remind myself I'm there for the kids. I love being able to work with them and to watch them come back week after week with smiles and improvement of skills. That's just the most important thing to me. So focusing on that for me is what made me successful. It's what made me be able to have cool opportunities to work with NHL players. I've been able to have really cool opportunities to work with some really big hockey brands. Again, I don't know if you know anything about hockey, but the biggest brand right now is True and Bauer. Bauer's flown me out to Boston a couple times to collaborate on social media and marketing things. I've had a real nice partnership with True Sports where I was their digital marketing specialist and, you know, did a lot of website work for them, a lot of newsletter communication type of things. I've been flown out with True to their headquarters in Memphis, Tennessee. I've worked on their sticks in San Diego, California. Worked with their custom skates company, the building in Quebec and Toronto. All these brands are wonderful. They take care of me. They, you know, hockey is very, very expensive. So I spend a lot of time trying to write grants and get ways to bring money into the rink or buy equipment. So True and Bauer really donate a lot to me, especially goalie equipment. It's another hat I wear. I take care of all the goalie equipment and donation gear type of things. So to work with these two big hockey brands is a big deal. And again, they're so great to me. They highlight me on social media. They send me anything I need, sticks and skates and gloves. Again, I just think it's crazy. A hockey stick today is $400. Skates are over $1,000, and it's really hard to watch these kids who grow and these parents trying to not only pay for the hockey fees, which are very expensive because ice time is rare, it's valuable, it's very precious ice time. An hour worth of ice time at Glacier is about $400, $500, but if you go down where the Blackhawks practice at Fifth Third Ice Arena, it's typically $600 or $700 an hour, which is a lot. It's really a lot. So paying for ice time, these parents are paying travel fees that are just thousands of dollars. And then for their children to wear equipment that is so expensive, it's just asking a lot. So I'm always trying to find ways to, you know, work with the board of directors to give people money off of fees, or I'm always giving away sticks and skates and helmets whenever I can because I know what it was like growing up and my skates are changing quickly, my sticks are breaking. So parents know that they can come to me and I can always try to work out a way to get them, you know, a new stick or a new helmet. And that's important to me. It's very important that, you know, I'm always giving back. I'm always someone at the rink that is approachable, that I'm happy to help and do what I can so that people know that someone's taking care of them. Last thing that's pretty cool, that's important to me, is being part of this NHLCA Women's Diversity Program. It's the elite, the National Hockey League Coach Association, where I'd apply, I had to go through interviews, and it's just a small select few women who are part of this group. We get to meet over Zoom and sometimes in person at least 3 or 4 times a month with NHL coaches and assistant coaches and just form a network and talk about issues we're having or successes, and you know, it's just a really positive, supportive way for women to come together who are working as directors or looking to advance their coaching careers, and it's just, I absolutely love it. Last year they had a special grant with Bauer, and you could apply for equipment, and you had to go through a whole application process and an interview process with 4 NHL coaches, and I was lucky to be chosen as the winner of that initiative, that grant with Bauer. So we were able to get some new gear for all the new little guys starting out, and I was really proud about that. And it's, again, just a great way to connect with people, especially women. There's women who are just, again, looking for support and looking to grow their career. So I think that pretty much covers it. I can't thank you enough for inviting me. I mentioned that this has always been, my life. It's the most passionate thing. I love getting up every day and seeing the children and the families. I've made so many great connections. And like I said, I love watching people grow and just being in these families' lives for many years. And it was just so nice to hear that there are still some boys around the school who've told teachers they've skated with me or they know me. So that's just a really big deal. I was very happy to be asked to be here, and that's it. That's just about covers it. So thank you. Awesome. Yes, I think I heard there were questions. Is that correct?
Of course. Yeah. So I was just wondering, do you have to develop any coping mechanisms? Any first to know that, hey, maybe some of the other coaches or parents were a little bit more restricted towards you as a woman? Did you have to experience any,
All the time. Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. Coping mechanisms. I told you I'm the only woman on staff, but I'm also the only, when you look at the, even on the staff administration side, I try to remind myself, I have a K-12 teaching degree that no one can ever take away from me, and I pride myself on teaching the children. And a lot of these guys actually come, they have great playing credentials, they played in the NHL, we had two coaches, they're not with us anymore, who played in the AHL and NHL, and they're big guys, they're intimidating, and parents might start with them, and they say, yeah, he's a great guy to talk to, but he doesn't know how to teach, So I try to empower myself by saying, I am so big on, getting down to the kids' level and showing them exactly what they need to do to be successful, to improve week to week. And I just continue everything with an educator heart and a teaching heart. And, I try to even, work through that with some of the guys who yell a lot and, don't have a, you don't have to ask that everyone is warm and fuzzy, but I try to share drills or little techniques with some of these guys who I do have a closer relationship with, or say, hey, maybe let this coach know we shouldn't be calling kids this word, or let's all just try to foster a positive environment. So again, just trying to give myself little reminders, and then making connections with the coaches to see, maybe I have to continue to improve my coaching style all the time. I'm always told I'm the nice coach, and I have to be stricter, but I do apply my classroom management skills that I had when I was teaching on the ice as well. It's just, again, we're all different, and I'm not going to be like an AHL coach who's screaming at everyone when I'm working with 10-year-olds, just like, maybe one of the coaches who's working with 14-year-olds isn't going to be all sweetie, good job, like I am on the ice. So, yeah, that's a great question. Just, again, just reminding yourself of your values and your passion, and doing everything with 110% of your heart. That's what I do. That's how I walk in the building every day, and that's how I stay sane. Just do it because I love the kids. Great question.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions? Yes?
What was your best and worst experience in your jobs?
My best and worst experience? Oh, gee, great question. I think, as I mentioned, my best and favorite experiences is watching players grow from the time they're 3 to getting invited to their juniors games as they've been older. Playing juniors is when you opt out to attending college and playing college hockey and going straight into a league that will eventually fast track you onto an AHL or NHL team. I didn't mention, if you're unfamiliar with the NHL is the National Hockey League. That's the top elite level, the Chicago Blackhawks. Under that is the AHL, the American Hockey League. So that's your Chicago Wolves teams, your Milwaukee Admirals teams. They're like the farm teams that feed into the NHL. So to be invited to games where I've skated with these little boys when they're so tiny, to being able to watch them, at top levels has been really great. I think for, one of the most difficult things is just making parents happy at the rink. You get a lot of parents that might not agree with something that administration has done, not necessarily me. Like I said, I really try to use a customer service mindset when working with parents. So it's hard when, maybe administration says, this is the ice fee and they have to pay it, and the parent says, I can't pay that, and I'm trying to always be that person that intercedes and really runs interference to make everyone happy. So, I think you get a lot of parents sometimes that aren't happy with where their children are placed on certain teams. So I really try to be that person of listening to them on the phone. Sometimes people just need a soft shoulder and a sympathetic ear to get through the season. Hockey seasons are long, but there's many of them. So I'm just always trying to be a reminder or a positive influence that it's okay, there's gonna be other seasons. But certainly, when parents get upset, that makes me upset too. I feel bad, so, really trying to work through making that parent feel better. That's always something that might be a little bit of a challenge, yeah. Did you have a question?
Oh, yeah, so I was just wondering what you meant by ice fees, on ice for the hour?
Yeah.
I didn't know that they had that.
Exactly. So I don't know if you've ever been to our, we have public skate. There's a lot of different types of skates we have. There's skating with coaches, individual lessons. There's public skate. There's camps. There's practice times. So just the ice fee alone, just to step on the ice, they charge you a fee right away. So it pays for the electricity. I do the billing. I organize all the bills for the rink. So the bill for 1 month of electricity with NG, we don't use ComEd, NG, 1 month, the lowest bill I've seen is $20,000 a month, which is a lot. It's a lot. So again, we have 2 ice rinks, the north and south rink, and it's refrigeration. We've got the lights. It's very expensive to have the ice going because you have to have it at a certain temperature, that refrigeration. So management, they charge you for the ice, just stepping on the ice like public skate. And then you're charged, like if you're working with a coach, you pay the coach, for their time and their coaching fees, or sometimes when you're in house league or travel, you pay a big lump sum for that ice fee. So again, it's a business. It's all about, money sometimes at the end of the day. With me, I'm never worrying about money. I mentioned I juggled all these jobs. It was never for money. It was just because, there's this great opportunity. They need a field hockey coach. We need a social media person here. We need you to teach, K through 4 for the next couple of years because we don't have it in the budget for another technology specialist. So being able to just adapt and understand that sometimes at the end of the day, it's the dollar figure where businesses are trying to save money or get more money in the building. It's important. Again, I mentioned I don't have like a business mindset, so I have to remind myself sometimes, they gotta pay the ice fee, it goes back to the ring. But again, I'm always trying to find ways to help people save, so.
Thank you so much for coming in. That is unfortunately the end of our time in here, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for everyone who attended. It was really great to see the turnout that we had. And there's another one Thursday after school where we have 2 other career fields coming in auto body shop and a HR management, which we are also looking forward to hear from. But it was so great to hear from you.
Thank And if you have any questions, I'm happy to stay. Don't worry, I'll stay. Thank
Okay, thank you to everyone for being here today. Today is the Women in Male-Dominated Fields Career Speaker Series, and we have Debbie Scott, Senator Adrian Johnson, and Ms. Susan Claus Dixon, sorry about that, here with us today, and we are so excited to hear from them all. Thank you for everyone who could make it, and I'll let these ladies take it away. Okay.
Well, I'm lefties first, so you
We just pick one? Pick
Sure.
one presentation and then we'll go for it?
You guys wanna, just give a little bit of it about yourself, and then I'll, pull up your individual.
Okay, yes. Hi, I'm Adrian Johnson, State Senator of the 30th Legislative District, and I'd like to describe that as being booked in between Wadsworth, near the Wisconsin border, and Wheeling. So I have mostly Lake County with a sliver of Cook County, and I've been in this role for a little over almost 4.5 years. And yeah, I'm glad to be here and to have an opportunity to talk about what it's like to be a state senator.
My name is Sue Dixon. I am the former owner of Claus Tire and Auto Automotive Repair in Waukegan. We were in business for 44 years. My career path was different. I started back office to help my dad, and I'll kind of go into the rest of it. As a shop owner, I was able to run the shop since 2014 all the way to the present, when we closed in June of 2024.
I'm Debbie Scott. I'm the HR and Safety Manager for a company called LMT Ansrud. It's a manufacturing plant that we manufacture cutting tools. And so my goal today is to kind of get you excited about human resource, get you excited about manufacturing, and get you excited about women's careers.
Thank you, guys. Ms. Johnson, I'm gonna start with you, if that's okay?
That's okay, and I'm gonna stand up because this is the first time I'm seeing the presentation. And I wanna make sure I'm saying what I'm saying. So anyway, I'm glad to be here for the Dare to Empower Women Across Careers Day, and I think it's really important when we talk about women and empowerment all in the same sentence. That's, and guys too. That's really important. And so I'm happy to be here. As I said, I've been in this role for about 4.5 years, and prior to that, I owned my own HR and management consulting business, Populous XP, from 2006 until just June of last year. And the reason why I closed the business is because a state senator in the state of Illinois is supposed to be a part-time position, but actually is 3 full-time positions. And so in order for me to, and I'm very involved in the community, and so in order for me to really give this 100%, I had to close my business because I really didn't have time to really do the work anyway, and so that's why I'm here full-time in this role. We can move the slide ahead. I know what's on there.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So, so a little bit about me is that, yes, I was the first Black state senator in Lake County, but we have a number of Black senators. We have 12 senators who are Black in the Illinois General Assembly, but I was the first Black state senator in the 30th district. And just a little bit about me, I started talking about my business, but prior to being in this role, my first elected role was as a commissioner of the Buffalo Grove Park District, which is my hometown for more than 25 years. And my daughter, she attended Stevenson High School, but she was involved in track and other clubs, and was involved in Vernon Hills to a certain high school to a certain extent. And just a little bit about my educational background. I won't go into that too much. It's on the screen. But a lot of the things that I care about you know, the environment and justice for all. And in fact, I am the one who opens up the center with the Pledge of Allegiance. And every time I say justice for all, and we repeat it, and for all, because that's really important for me, justice for all. And so environment, education, I'm the former chair of the Senate Education Committee. I have since moved on to, I'm the chair of Local Government Committee, this 104th General Assembly. And on transportation, I'm on commerce, and you know, I'm on appropriations, and that's where the funds go. We listen to the agencies, what their funding needs are, and we are, you know, instrumental in you know, making sure the resources are going to be spent appropriately. So on that committee, and local government, and the chair of local government, as I said, and environment and conservation. If you look at the ilga.gov ILGA and take a look at the bills that I'm advancing, you can see they align with what I'm saying, who I am, and what I believe in, and what I prioritize. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so it's great to be here. As you can see, as I mentioned, to get out in the community, because it's really important to empower young women leaders such as yourselves, and you know, and everyone to understand the importance of that. In the General Assembly, so in 1818, when we adopted our Constitution, the first Constitution, it took nearly 100 years for a woman to become a state senator or elected official in the General Assembly in the state of Illinois, and it was not until 1920. And you know, and so now there are in the Senate, we have 25 female senators, and in the House, I believe they have about 53. And so, you know, what is it? It's 59 senators, so what is that, 42% in the Senate, and a little over 45% in the House. And women make up actually 51% of the population, so we can do better, right? So I want to see some of you take over and do exactly that. But because it's really important, because when you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I am a huge proponent of that, because we're talking about women, we're talking about different perspectives, we're talking about people with different abilities, people who come from different backgrounds, right? That's really important, because when you are advancing legislation, which by the way, earlier today I was in Chicago, Lieutenant Governor had a meeting, and we're talking about legislation, and after that I was on a stakeholder negotiation meeting. So if you like negotiating and great with communication, you love people, this is the job for you. And so negotiating a bill that I'm working on, and you know, and that's really important. And the reason why I bring that up is because the different perspectives. I mean, sometimes if we all think alike, right, and we don't really get to where we need to be. We're not considering other people. And so, and I really appreciate that, because this is really important to me. Start off really young, you know, and trying to influence and let people, the young girls know what it is to be a state senator. You can go on to the next one. Yeah, I love this. This is my favorite quote, because I love Shirley Chisholm, right? She was the first Black woman from New York to be a representative, a congressional member. But she says, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And you know what I say? If there's not a table, and if there's no room, bring your own folding table as well. Because you have to sit around the table. Our voices, our perspectives are so important. So bring that folding chair, but bring the folding table as well. And you know, and that's really important. And next slide. So the daily routine of being a state senator. Well, one of the things that I would like to say, because people say, well, why did you choose this career? You know, and how did you get to where you are? First of all, I come from a political family. I never thought I would be in this role, because my sister, oldest sister, she worked for Mayor Daley, and she worked for Governor Egger, Governor Rauner. She worked for Pritzker for a stint, and then when she moved to Georgia, she worked for Governor Sonny Perdue. And I remember in Chicago working for Mayor Daley. She found herself in the newspaper a lot. You know, they like to say these people or whatever they say, and my mother would get furious when they wrote about her daughter. And I thought, politics, because the stereotypes about politicians, right? But that's not true. A lot of people care. They genuinely care about making a difference. And sometimes being a legislator where you can influence policy and you're at the table, that's so important. But anyway, it wasn't something that I planned on doing. But one of the things that I learned early on is that whatever you do, you have to have great communication skills, right, in order to be successful. And I didn't have an option. My mother said, I don't care what you do, you're going to school. So I didn't have to work, but I had to go to school. But trust me, she made me work too. That was really important. But really good communication skills, to hone your communication skills and the critical thinking skills, that's really important too. You want to hone that because we are constantly, for example, I think 10,000 bills were filed this year, and we are expected to vote on a lot of these bills. And so I think you have to have strong research skills and reading. If you don't like reading, this is not the job for you. So you have to read and research. And one of the things about the Senate staffers, they love me, because you know why? Yes, we have people helping us write press releases and writing, other, bills. We have the Legislative Reference Bureau, and they fine tune our bills. We have people who write our bill analysis, that we present. But one of the things they like about me is that I do my due diligence and I do my research, my own independent research. Because a lot of the bills that I advance, and I'm really proud to share this, more than 95% of the legislation I advance is for me. It's sponsored, it's as a sponsor initiative. And that's not always the case because we get lobbyists bring us bills. But the lobbyist bills, they are very small percentage of the bills I advance. I listen to the constituents that I serve. And each senator is 59 of us, and each senator represents 225,000 residents in Springfield, and I never lose sight of that. And so having that critical thinking and communication skills, that's really important. You have to read, you have to want to do your research and your homework. Another thing too that's really important is teamwork. If you come there trying to stand out, and I know people like to do the blockbuster bills, they like the sound bites and the headlines, but this is really about team approach, because we have a caucus, right? I happen to be a part of the Democratic caucus in the Senate, but I'm on sub-caucuses too. I'm on the Women's Caucus, I'm on the Progressive Caucus, I'm on the Black Caucus, and then the Women's Caucus. So anyway, teamwork, because you have to work with people, you have to negotiate, and you have to get your bill passed. And then, what is it, pros and cons of the career? First of all, I think it's all great, it's all upside. I love what I do. I mentioned that I didn't set out to be a state senator, but one of the things that I did set out, I want to make a difference in the work that I do. I want the work that I do to matter, and it's important, and it really is important. Some people say to me, because I'm challenged a lot, so if you don't like being challenged, this is not the work for you. If you have thin skin, this is not the job for you. Because I don't take it personally, but we do hear from constituents all the time, you're not doing enough, and sometimes you are doing enough, and they thank you, right? But, you can't take it personally, and you have to understand what you're fighting for. And someone says, well, you know what else are you doing? So in addition to advancing legislation that becomes policies, it's about the bills that we are repealing too. And since I've been in this role, I'm really proud to say that we've repealed a number of bills that have caused systemic harm to so many people. And so that's a big part of what we do. And then look at all those friendly faces. We get a chance to meet so many amazing people. And my amazing colleagues get a chance to work with like-minded people, because there's people in politics who genuinely care. And I can assure you that I'm one of those individuals. And anything I do, I want to make a difference, because I will never lose sight of who I represent. I represent all of you when I'm in Springfield, and I represent those 250,000 residents in the 30th district. And so for that, I'm really proud, and it is a privilege and quite an honor to serve in this role. And I am so glad that I took the leap of faith when Senator Terry Link stepped down, and I was encouraged to apply for this position, one of 50 people. And for that, I feel so privileged. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share a little bit about what I do as a state senator. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Dixon, would you be good to go next? Sure.
All right. I'm going to talk about the automotive industry. So we're going to shift gears and women in the automotive careers. It's a $400 trillion industry. It's divided into two different sectors. So we have the original equipment manufacture industry, and that's the industry that makes the cars. It's the design, the manufacturing, and the sale of those new cars. The industry I'm going to talk about today is the automotive aftermarket industry, and that's the industry that involves parts, services, modifications to vehicles after they leave the factory. So you have your OEMs and you have your aftermarket. Next slide.
Sorry.
So we want to drive change in the automotive market, and I think you guys all know we've got driverless cars now, we've got electric vehicles, so everything in our industry is now so ever changing, and this is where you need to kind of look at the opportunities that are provided in our industry. And some of these areas here, similar like the repair and service shops, those are your technicians, your collision technicians, your tire specialists, your EV technicians. Then you go into your parts and retail jobs, that's your parts counter guys, or your warehousing, retail's there, your manufacturing, your distributing jobs, your businesses like, and management roles like our owners. So there is a lot of opportunity and growth in our industry, and everything is ever so changing, so you need to take a look at that. Next one. My career path started very differently than most of you. I did attend college, but my dad did not believe that women should be going to college. So I had to pay my own way and work, and it became too stressful, so I dropped out. I took a job with my dad to do some back office work to help him out, and there was really no intention of me staying in the business because it really wasn't my passion. I really didn't like cars, I really didn't want to be a part of it. So just doing back office work, I started realizing I couldn't answer a lot of questions. People would call, I'd answer, hi, can I help you? Well, this is going on with my car, and I don't know what's wrong with it. Can I talk to somebody that knows something? And I was like, okay, now it's time for me to reevaluate where I'm going and how I'm going to get there. So I went back to school. And my school was career and technical ed. So I took myself back into school to learn the business so I could talk to you and tell you what was wrong with your car and understand that the technicians that worked for me, were they doing their job? Did they know what they were doing? So in order for me to be a good boss or even be a part of the industry, I had to learn the industry from the inside out. So this is a required skills in many different areas now. That's career and technical ed, is things that you need to know, which is automotive 101, okay? When we look at the first picture, we look at the axle there, and somebody came in and said, I have a light on my dashboard, and I don't know what's going on, and I have a noise on the front end of my car, and I can't figure it out. So we took the wheel off, and we found out his CV joint had a problem, which was kicking the speed sensor and sending a message up to his dashboard. So we put a new CV joint on that car. You need to know the basic parts of a vehicle. I'm not telling you to look at that motor over there, and you don't need to know all of that, but you need to know how a vehicle starts, how it stops, and just the basic knowledge of how that vehicle works. So going back to Voc Ed, or career and technical ed, is a really good pathway. You don't need a 4-year college for this. Next one. A lot of the different certifications you can get on your own. You can get hands-on training. That's the best way of learning. A lot of the manufacturers that are out there now are modern technology. They're having seminars. They want you to know. By the time education gets it, it's a couple of years old. So you need to be active in certifications and stay up to date. You can get an associate's degree in automotive, and you can couple that with a business degree, right? So this way you have best of both worlds. ASC certifications is a certification, the National Institute of Automotive Service Excellence has 50 different certifications, and this is what you're gonna look for when you go to get your car fixed. You want somebody certified in the areas of repair that you need, right? So you have an EV vehicle, make sure you have an ASC certified mechanic in that field. We look at new technology, ADAS, this is the different technologies, the cars are driving themselves, we have EV. These are new jobs that are coming, and a lot of women are actually looking into this because it's not a dirty job. So we look at industry conferences and suppliers, and the whole key to this, and the reason why I feel like I grew within my job, my career path, is because I had continuous learning. And that is really, really important in any industry that you are going to be in. Next slide. If you're looking for a four-year degree in the University of the Aftermarket, it is available. It's at Northwood University, it's up in Midland, Michigan, and it has a 4-year solid program that can take you right into the automotive aftermarket and give you job opportunities there that you would never ever think of. So there's not many of these programs around the country, but Northwoods does have this program in it. If you're looking in anything automotive, check that out. Next slide. Women in auto care, another opportunity. Check this out. You're gonna look into this. There's events, there's connection circles for women. So you're thinking, well, maybe I wanna do something in this field. You can connect, and every month there's a different topic. We zoom in, and there's people all over the industry, all across the country that come together and give you feedback on different things that are happening in our industry and different opportunities that are available to you. They also have some awesome scholarships. If you're a woman and you want to be a technician, $10,000 worth of tools, and all you have to do is fill out the scholarship information.
Wow.
So that's a really, really good resource to kind of look into if you're thinking, I might want to do this. Next slide. There's also another opportunity through TechForce. And this is another not-for-profit that helps students kind of connect careers. They have a lot of opportunities, scholarships, grants. They even have little contests where you can win prizes to go to different events. Just key in there, put your information, and you can kind of guide yourself through that and see if this is a career for you. Next slide. So when we look forward to what's happening in our industry, like I said, it's not a dirty job anymore. It has a lot of opportunity, and a lot of women are not going into this field. Why? Because they like working with men and they don't like really working with women. So that's another opportunity when you kind of look at things. We look at electric vehicles and the transformation of the automotive aftermarket, providing the cleaner, efficient, more options in transportation. We also look at technology and AI and automation, different things are going on. And of course, we talk about sustainable practices and how important it is for manufacturing to actually recycle. So we're actually kind of almost reinventing that wheel to move forward into a different industry. One of the reasons why I have closed my shop, was in business for 44 years, I'm in retirement, sort of, is because the industry is changing so much that I would have to spend a lot of time and money and training just to get up to where the industry is right now. So it's a lot of money, a lot of time, and then when you're at the end of your career, you kind of look and say, it's time for me to kind of bow out. Next slide. So what did I do? I decided to get 3 careers that I thought were kind of different, like you wouldn't look at this. And I want you to look at the amount of money you can make from 0 to 2 years on all 3 of these. You don't need a lot of experience. You need the background in automotive, the desire to, like the first one, that's customer service. So when you go into a service center and somebody greets you, that's a service advisor. She needs to, or he needs to talk to you about your needs of your vehicle, and then kind of like write down where we need to go with this and how we're gonna need to find that. It's kind of like that CV joint I showed you, okay? You're coming in, you're talking to me, we need to figure out where we're looking, okay? And then if you have some good background in databases, computer, you can start it out as a catalog analyst, and look at where you're starting out. 45 to 55, where you're going up to 90 when you're at about 3 to 5 years. These different career paths are now on the upswing with the women. So it's just kind of interesting to kind of look at your basic skills that you have and how you can advance them. I think there was one more. Okay, last two things. Network, network, network. It's gonna make you grow, it's gonna, you know, advance your career. And last one I wanna leave you with is be comfortable being uncomfortable. Embrace challenges, adapt to change, and unlock your potential.
Okay, I gotta top those, huh? So, very interesting. We have a lot in common in the fact that all three of us are actually ended up in careers that we never thought we'd be doing.
Yes.
And all three of us have learned all the different skill sets you need in almost every industry or whatever career choice you decide to take. So you can go to the next one. This one's just an overview of what I'm going to be talking about, and it's really my journey as a human resource professional, and then to talk to you about manufacturing as well and the company that I work for. Okay, so I was like you guys. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. We just all went to college, right? And I was going to go into math and technology and IT because I was really good at math. And but I did a lot of volunteer work, and my counselor at school at Northwestern University said to me, "Why are you going into math and technology?" And I said, "Well, because I'm just good at it." And she said, "But your passion seems to be the volunteer work, seems to be the people. And so get out of your comfort zone and kind of go where your passion is opposed to your skills." So I ended up with a human development degree, but then I went into accounting. That was my first job out of school, so I kind of went back to my safe space. But back then, accounting took care of the human resource stuff. They took care of the people management. They took care of the payroll. So eventually we had to build a human resource department, so that's what I did. I built a human resource department and went back to my passion. And here's where we were talking about skills, right? So you can be in human resources and wear multiple hats. I've always been in a company where it's 100 to 400 employees, a department of 1 to 3 people, and I wear lots of hats. I get to be a specialist in talent planning and acquisition and employee relations, and I'm just going to run through these. Policy development and implementation, compensation, payroll, benefit administration. I do all these things. Performance management, training and development, leadership strategy, compliance management, health and safety, HRIS, which is my technical hat, and change management, and then you can see at the bottom, strategic planning is really big, because no matter where you fall, you have to be strategic, right? And then you look at skills. Everybody has skills that are better than everybody else, right? So employee relations, the communication skills is important. Talent planning, the communication skills is really important. If you're a legal nerd, you can go into compliance management or policy development. So you can be an HR, all multiple hat crazy person, or you can actually specialize in one of these things and go maybe more bigger and corporate. So you can have the technical skills and go into the HRIS systems. I love that part. Okay, and then you can also be any kind of person and find a place in human resource. You can be an analytical person and like policy development. You can be a driver and do the talent planning and performance management. So all of this, you can be an expressive person, which I became somehow, which is somebody who likes to talk and no ideas and things like that, which was not me back in my early days. You can go ahead. So I just wanted to really give you a good picture of all the things that you can do in this profession. Qualifications, so there's lots of HR degrees. There's lots of HR management diplomas. Experience, you guys talked about this. Experience is really, whatever you do, you want to get experience to move up and learn and gain more skills. And then the certifications, those are really the most important thing, but you don't get those until you have the experience. Go ahead. Obstacles and interesting turns. I'm going to copy you guys on this. I'm always learning. Laws are always changing. People and generational needs are always changing. And then sometimes you have to become an expert in something that you're going to do once in a lifetime. I was part of a startup. I was a part of big growth. I was a part of decline with the economy. I was a part of closing a company, right? And then after 30 years of being with the company and it closed, I found, if you can go to the next one. I found LMT Ansrud, which is the manufacturing company that I work for now. And I am like a kid in a candy store. Whatever you do, wherever you work, you want an excellent culture. You want a good environment. You want great leadership. You want the seat at the table. You want to be heard. You want to have good ideas. HR, the only department with a sense of humor, it sounds like the other one too, right? And I would say that was given to me, the noun is the unofficial lawyer, psychologist, event planner, teacher, peacemaker, career planner, and detective. I do a lot of detective work as an HR person. So every week, I have weekly objectives. I plan for the unplanned. I expect to be interrupted. And I do a lot of research and strategy, right? We talked about that. Always learning, always growing. Skills I've acquired over the years that you really have to have experience to do. Don't ever overreact. People come in my office, poker face, right? See the positive first. Everybody's first instinct is negative. It is a skill to learn to take the positive of what somebody's saying to you instead of the negative. Ask questions. That's part of learning. If you really want to understand what somebody's problem is, ask them questions. And really, really listen. Okay? You got to ask the questions and then listen to the answers. And most importantly, have fun. Again, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I love my job. I love my company. Priorities. So my favorite part and my non-favorite part are the same things, which is balancing employee success with business success. You need, part of my job is to make the employees happy, engaged. We do a ton of wellness, safety training events. This is just a little synopsis of all the things that we do throughout the year to keep people engaged and happy in their jobs. But then we also have to be productive. We can't interrupt business operations to keep everybody happy, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to balance the employee needs and the business needs for both of them to be successful. And the challenging part of that is conflict resolution, right? We all avoid it, we all hate it, it's a big part of my job, right? Because people come in and they don't know what goes on behind the scenes, they just know what they do, right? So I have to kind of know what everybody's jobs are, right? And help them think through, talk through, strategize through, where they're gonna walk away feeling good, but then if they need something from the company to make them feel good about it, I can do that too, right? So you have to balance employees and you have to balance business. My next steps, always develop, learn, implement new strategies, and mentor the next generation, right? That's why we're here. We want to tell you what's out there for you, take the steps, right? There's so much out there and people don't know it. Nobody's looking for manufacturing jobs, right? Manufacturing is another growing industry, very automated. We've got a lot going on, and we have to grow and learn with it to stay successful in business. And my advice to you is investigate different career choices. Investigate different career choices within those career choices, like human resource. There's 10 million things you can do. Know your strengths and likes. Accept that your strengths and likes are going to change over time. Be authentic. Always be yourself. If you're not comfortable in your skin and in your job, you're going to hate your job. Be yourself. You want to be somewhere where people know who you are and you can be authentic. And most important, be patient, because 30 and 40 years goes by really, really fast. But you meet a lot of people along the way, and you guys got a lot in front of you, and I think that was my last one. Let's see. Oh, questions? There we go.
Thank you to everyone for for coming here and speaking to us. Does anyone have any questions? No? Yeah, I love that all of you guys are in such diverse careers, but you guys found like similarities within your jobs, and I think that really speaks to the experience of being a woman, because you know, we all go through different paths, we have different experiences in life, but we all tend to experience some of the same, and yeah. Have any of you guys ever experienced, do you have any stories with like one specific moment where someone really excluded you because of being a woman or anything that you guys had to tackle? Like, did you develop any strategies to kind of work through that?
Be authentic.
Be authentic?
Yeah, I mean, all the time, all of our industries, all the time.
Yeah.
When I first started, women weren't really in the industry. So it was basically a building thing for me.
Mhm.
And now I just love when I see women coming into the industry. We see a lot of women in the parts houses, and they're actually starting to make a difference. So look into it. There's opportunity.
Yes, and I would agree with that. You heard in my remarks, I mentioned that it took nearly 100 years after our Constitution was adopted for women to be elected to the General Assembly. And, you know, and then I would say, yes, you should be authentic, because women, I mean, we make up 51%, and you know, we're getting better. We're closing that gap in the General Assembly. Because in the Senate, like I said, there was 59 senators, and there's 25 female senators. In the House, there's 118 representatives, there's 53 women. And so we are closing the gap. And I would say it's so important to be authentic, because guess what people say all the time, in whatever room you're in, whatever space you're in, you have to be your true authentic self. And I hear that a lot of times with people. They understand that, you know, being in this role, a politician, because again, you hear so many negative things, but just, you know, working hard, being yourself, and playing to your strengths. I mean, that's one of the things that I didn't say, but when you're selecting a career, you should play to your strengths. And, you know, that's so important. We can want to do something,
Right.
you know, right, but we're better at and passionate about certain other things, too. And I would think those are that's the same approach you need to take for when you start your own business. Because when I started my own business, because of course I did my research, I'm always doing the research, you have to make sure, I wanted to play to my strengths. And, you know, I picked HR to be the business because I worked in the corporate HR setting for many years. And, you know, and I was a true generalist, meaning I worked in all of the functional areas that she listed, and I had certification in all of those, you know, the functional areas. And so once you make that decision, you know, you want to commit to it. And even in the automotive industry, getting the certifications. My husband works in the auto industry, and he has all those certifications. So just being authentic and never taking things personally, like the Shirley Chisholm quote. Don't feel like, you know, there's not a chair. Pull up this folding chair. And if you know, there's no more room around the table, pull up the folding table. Because once you're there and you have something to contribute, right, people will listen.
I love that. Thank you so much, guys. Anyone else? Yes.
So how do you build your confidence up to use your voice in a room where people will like dismiss your ideas because you're a woman?
Be okay to be uncomfortable. That was one of
Yeah.
the quotes.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Yeah, be comfortable being uncomfortable. That means you're growing.
That's true. It does mean you're growing. But that's a really important question. And thanks for asking that, because a lot of time women are dismissed, because when I worked in the corporate setting and I would be in the boardroom and I would say something and they would be like, yeah, okay. And then my male counterpart would say, and they were like, oh my God, that is great, what a great idea. And you know what? I didn't take it personally, but what did I do? My voice, you know, your true authentic self. And I said, you know what, I'm glad you like that idea, because that's what I said, but this is what I added to it, right? The confidence has to come with, you know you're right, you've done your research, not to be confrontational, but just to make sure you're not being marginalized. And, you know, and your voice is so important, right? And, you know, and women have always been on the forefront of every movement in this country, and their voices were heard. So just being really confident, your true authentic self, and not being afraid to speak up.
And not being afraid to make a mistake, right? Because negative experiences are still learning experiences, right? So if something is a negative experience, which we all have had multiple ones, if you can walk away from that saying, okay, so what am I gonna take from this experience so that it doesn't happen again, and then grow from it.
Do we have time for one more question? Or?
Yeah, go for it quickly.
Okay, so I really loved that you mentioned networking, right? I think Sue, you were the one that had that.
Yeah.
I would be curious to know, and I think the room could benefit from hearing, how did you three build your networks? Like, what strategies did you have? And I think even more importantly, how important was it for you to have women as a part of that network?
Big one.
I think when I look at networking is what I can give to the table, but it's what I can receive back. And I look at different areas in automotive, and I wouldn't have been a good owner if I didn't network. And a lot of what I'm doing now with my Give Me 10 is because I networked with all the shops in Lake County. Okay, so we got together and we talked to each other about what we did right, what we did wrong, and what we can do better. And I embrace that we could all come together, being that we were competitors, but we came together to better each other in our industry.
Yeah, and then you can also, you form common ground in solving problems, right? Like in manufacturing, I work with a ton of manufacturing companies on labor shortage and training and development and reaching out to people, you know, like you. So together, even though we're competitors, we are growing our industry together by partnering in the networks.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, what you talked about a little bit about these different associations. So, you know, when I was in corporate HR, I joined SHRM, and I joined other, Chicago had an HR organization, and I joined that organization, and I would attend their conferences and network that way. When I started my business in 2006, I joined the local Chamber of Commerce, and I would attend all of their events, and I eventually I joined the board. But in the political setting, same thing. So when I was a elected official commissioner, I would attend the elected officials, their events too, because we weren't only expecting them to attend our events, I would attend their events too. And because of networking that way, I became really good friends and with Senator Morrison and Representative Senti. And in fact, when this position became available, they thought of me and recommended me. Because why? Because I was able to work with them through that networking. And then even right now, I mentioned that being a state senator is 3 full-time positions. So we have the state side, we have the political side, and the fundraising side. I attend various political events, different townships, they have events, and I attend all of those. And if I'm asked to speak, I speak, or I just show up and I listen and I interact with people. So whatever organization you're involved in, school organization, you know, they have the Illinois Association of School Boards and all these other, you know, I would attend those events and network that way and collaborate too.
There's lots of places that you can just show up.
Enjoy. Thank you so much for everyone coming in. It was so great. So that concludes the end of this, and thank you all for coming again.
Thank you.